Hello and welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Jamie Lynch, Tyler Zulli in with you. 9 o'clock on the dot, more or less, as Ranger Suarez, being the adorable man that he is, wanted to make sure, Tyler, that everybody got home and had a nice early bedtime tonight. And he worked a quick game, and Ranger was magnificent. Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott gets off the schneid, and Brandon Marsh continues to be in fuego. Rob Thompson's decision-making, a lot to get into from tonight's game. But hello, Drew, first in the chat. Appreciate you. That was a fun game tonight, Tyler. Got to give credit to the Pirates starting pitcher as he kept them in that game for a while. It looked like we were going to get a slow offensive evening again, as Jared Jones was dealing a little bit himself tonight. Was a real pitcher's duel until Brandon Marsh kind of broke it open.
Yeah, it's my kind of baseball game. You know, I love a good back and forth, low scoring, kind of hang on every pitch type of game. And I know it's April and you're not doing the same as you are in October. But tonight was a lot of fun because you're right. Ranger was really, really good. Tip of the cap to Jared Jones as well. He was really good. I turned to Bill Matz, who's he and Kelly Hinkle are getting ready to do the Flyers postgame show in just a little bit. I turned to him and said, this kid's going to go 7 innings, give up 1 run, and have nothing to show for it. Yeah. Now, obviously, the 7th inning kind of, got away from him and the Pirates bullpen in totality a little bit. It's when the Phillies did all their damage. But for the most part, he was really, really good. Throws hard, average velocity at the 97-ish range. Had really good swing and miss stuff. Like you said, 15 swings and misses. Ranger had 12. Both of these guys pitched really, really well tonight.
Yeah, there was a stat I read to you during the game, and I've since lost it. But Jared Jones became the first pitcher to have a certain amount. Was it 45, did I say? Something pretty impressive. Swing and miss performances in his first 3 career starts in the StatCast era.
Well, I mean, he had 15 tonight, so if it's 45, he's averaging 15 a start.
It might have been 40. Good. Whatever it was the first in the StatCast era. So Jared Jones, look, the Pittsburgh Pirates have started hot. They were 9-3 coming into this game. They started the last season hot and then kind of fell off a cliff at the end of April. Me and you were talking about it. We don't expect the same thing to happen, but it is Pittsburgh, so you can't rule it out. But they got some nice young pieces. They got some talent on that team.
I don't think they're quite ready just yet, but this is not going to be that team that kind of gets to June and July and starts to slide, and then they move pieces at the deadline. I don't think anybody's going to get moved from this team. We were talking about, during the offseason, maybe a Connor Joe, who's been really good to start the year, a Mitch Keller. And the thought on him was that probably don't move him because they're not quite sure what their starting rotation behind him looks like. But Jones looks really good. Paul Skeens is going to be on the way shortly.
He's got to be up soon.
And then you go to Keller as your kind of, I don't want to say, veteran because he's still young-ish, but they're kind of putting something nice together there.
They are.
Henry Davis was the guy that was mashing balls all over the yard in spring training. He struggled a little bit out of the gate, but he's, I think he's going to be a serviceable bat for them for a while. This is not a, it's not a
pushover Pirates team
It's
anymore.
Not your same Pirates team that we've been used to, with the exception of that gap from like 2010 to 2014, that team was really good.
Yeah, between O'Neal Cruz and Brian Hayes and Brian Reynolds.
And that's the thing. Those 3 guys that you just mentioned are the core. And I didn't mention them purposefully because we know who they are. They're established. O'Neal Cruz is only going to get better. Brian Reynolds is a legit everyday all-star caliber left fielder. Brian Hayes is a Gold Glove
2030, I believe.
They're starting to put something nice together.
They are. We'll see if ownership continues to spend out there. A little story. I used to work a lot with NBC Sports nationally, and I did a lot of hockey coverage, and I used to drive around Doc Emmerich a good amount.
The best.
He's the best, but he is the biggest diehard Pittsburgh Pirates fan I've ever met in my life. And when I would drive him around to the airport, to the hotel, I was kind of like the little bitch boy, go out there and,
everybody's chauffeur.
Yeah, basically earn your way. But the Pittsburgh Pirates always make me think of Doc Emmerich. So let's get off the Pirates, giving them their flowers and their kudos there. And we'll get into the weekend series a little bit. But Alec Bohm got it started tonight. With a shot to deep right center field into the Phillies bullpen. Really nice to see because Stott and Bohm, we'll stop struggling more than Bohm. I don't want to say Bohm was struggling, but it's good for him to barrel one up and see it go over the wall there. Same for Bryce and Stott, obviously, later in the game. We'll talk about Brandon Marsh in a second. But for those two, I think those were important home runs.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about the Phillies kind of maybe stumbling into some hard luck. Sure. Over the last couple of days.
We'll talk about Bryce Harper and bad luck in a minute.
And that's kind of what we're leading into is like those guys, there's been signs of life from a lot of these guys.
Sure.
We talked about kind of, dead in the water, how Nick Castellanos has been over the last couple of days. But I think there's been signs of life for some of these guys. Trey Turner has hit the ball well. He's up, he was in the 270s before this game started. But even when he was struggling in the first couple of days, he was squaring up the baseball.
Sure.
Bryce Harper, again, you said that 110 off the bat.
So the top
grounds
exit
into a double
velocity
play
tonight was Bryce Harper's grounded in the double play in the first inning?
Yeah.
110.3 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And Bryson Stott was fifth on the exit velocity list at 102.
Yeah, that's the one thing I will give these guys credit for. And as well as I thought Jones did a really nice job of getting swings and misses, striking out a lot of hitters, and doing a nice job of battling out of some of this hard contact. The Phillies did hit the ball hard tonight. They had, I believe, 5 or 6 balls hit over 100 miles an hour off the bat. Schwarber, Bohm, Realmuto, Stott, and Harper all hit one over 100 miles an hour. Castellanos squared one up that was an out. Trey Turner squared one up that was an out. Bryson Stott squared another one up that was an out. The point is, they had 9 balls that they hit today at 95 miles an hour or more. They did a nice job of squaring the baseball up today, and I think they've done that for in parts, in like splashes here and there, where they've kind of been hard luck losers a little bit with how they're squaring the ball up and getting nothing out of it. Tonight was kind of a little bit of a change of the tides, I hope.
Yeah. I think, Bryce Harper, these things balance out over the course of the year.
Yeah.
If he gets a little bit of, if he gets under that ball a little bit, that ball's flying over to Bet Parks in South Philly down the street. Like, he was going to crush that one. So with Bryce, you saw him snap out of it last week. He's a little bit of bad luck, but the good news with his bad luck is he's barreling up a lot of balls and he's hitting the piss out of them.
One of those situations where launch angle actually does matter.
Yeah.
Because do you know what Bryce Harper's launch angle on the ball that he hit into a double play was?
8%?
1. Okay. Yeah. You figure he gets that to. So Olivares hit a ball hard at a 16 launch angle that was a line out, had an expected batting average of 620. Harper's was at 590. Wow. You figure both those guys get that to 22, 25. They're looking at doubles probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bryce Harper, a little bit of bad luck, but it does look like he's trying to hit a ball out of Yellowstone to snap himself out of it.
Which is, it's tough to do that. And now, granted, listen, this is Bryce Harper. It's one of the best hitters in the world.
I'm not going to critique him.
If he feels like swinging 110 miles an hour is the way to make it happen, then that's the way to make it happen. Sometimes simplicity does help you, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever seen Bryce Harper's father? When you're raised by Randy Macho Man Savage, I guess slump busting and trying to hit 115 miles an hour is the way he was taught. I think it's genetic with the Harper men because they are big dudes.
Yeah, his dad's pretty strong guy as well. Yeah.
His dad would suplex me and break me in half. But I think Bryce is.
You listen to Mr. Harper?
Yeah, we're big fans of your son, Mr. Harper.
We got a table somewhere in here. We can make it work.
You can throw me through a table. I would take that if he would come and. What is the table? Is that a suplex? See, I'm not a wrestling guy.
Sure. Oh, we're going off the rails already. Here we go.
No, I don't want to go off the rails. But when the table move happens, is that a particular call? Is that a particular move?
It depends. No,
or is it just a table slam?
Well, it depends on what. Like, there's different variations.
Our wrestling expert is over
Bill
there.
would know better than us. No, I mean, you're going through a table. It doesn't matter what you want to call the move. It's called ouch.
So really nice night. Let's talk about Ranger Suarez. He was tremendous. Let me pull up his numbers here, but I think it was 96 pitches he ended with.
Yeah, something like that.
6 innings. At one point, he had 5 consecutive strikeouts. Ranger was dealing. And it leads to the bigger picture, which is the Phillies' starting pitching rotation is nasty. They left the game when Ranger left. Now the team ERA for the starting rotation is 2.74.
Huge.
And look, I mean, if that remains a constant and the offense does come around, which we all believe it's going to, this team's going to be pretty nasty.
Yeah, and we kind of expected that from, let's say, 3 of the 5 starters. Christopher Sanchez may be a question mark, the 5th spot. But I think that's helped a lot, due in part to how good Spencer Turnbull has been over the his 2 first starts. And the one thing with him that would go back a couple days ago, he's just not giving up hard contact.
No.
And so whether you
wildly effective, a lot of movement on the ball, whatever you want to call it.
Right, and he's not throwing 96, 97. He's been good in his spots. Ranger Suarez is kind of the same way. He topped out at 94 today. He was averaging about 92 on his fastball. But the one thing with Ranger Suarez that I have preached continuously, and you know how much I love Ranger Suarez, is he just knows how to pitch, and he knows how to get in and out of jams and out of spots. And tonight, he mixed his pitch sequencing and the mixing of pitches, 25% fastball, 25% sinker, 22% curveball, and then 15 and 13 on the cutter and the changeup.
It really keeps you guessing.
It's literally a 5-pitch arsenal, and he's going to use all 5 pitches.
And he's going to use them somewhat evenly, too.
Right. It's an even distribution. And that's when you can find, like, the one curveball, it just, like, it died. It just, like, floated through the zone and died, and you got the swing and miss. But when you can use a pitch like that, and you can, effectively mix in the changeup, effectively mix in the cutter, that's where 93 on the hands up in the zone looks a lot harder.
He loves jamming guys.
And that's the thing. It's more deceiving. So all of a sudden, 93, you go, oh, damn, this is up on me quick, even though it's only 93.
Yeah, and he can touch 94, 95. Like, he's got he's got deceptive speed on top of it. I mean, what can't you say about Ranger Suarez? The guy's just the
you
best.
love the guy.
I mean, he brings a great attitude every day. He's adorable. He loves his teammates, and he strikes people out. And he's his best when it's a big spot. So Ranger Suarez's line tonight: 6 innings pitched, only 2 hits allowed, 0 runs. And the other great part about Ranger, he's not going to put a lot of free base runners on. Only 2 walks tonight, 8 Ks, 97 pitches, 62 of those for strikes. I love Ranger Suarez, and I don't care who knows it.
Ranger struggled with his command last year, especially early in the season. You could tell he was still not 100% coming off of that injury from the World Baseball Classic, and it took him quite a bit of time to get kind of back into the flow of things. The command was sharp today, and when Ranger Suarez's command is on, he is a true, like, number 2 starter. Yeah. And to have him be your 3 is really a blessing for this team, because you have the ability to have a true ace. You have the ability to have the innings eater and Aaron Nola as your 2, whether it's elite Aaron Nola, bad Aaron Nola, somewhere in between. He's the innings eater. Ranger Suarez is your consummate professional type pitcher. Chris Sanchez has become that guy as well. And then to go to Spencer Turnbull to get anything out of him is impressive. The fact that he's been good in 2 straight starts, like, this is a really good 1 through 5. It's a whole starting rotation that is working in unison right now.
So let me ask you this, because Spencer Turnbull potentially could steal Taijuan Walker's job. Taijuan Walker's an $18 million, potentially 6th pitcher here. Now, Zach Wheeler likes going on his regular rest. Do you go to a straight-up 6-man rotation? Because the baseball season is long, and it's a war of attrition, and especially with this apparently the UCL, it feels bigger this year than it has in the past, but it's actually a little bit shorter than a couple years in the past. With this UCL problem right now, I'm very pro go to a 6-man rotation here for April, May, and maybe a little bit into June and see how it goes.
Yeah, I thought that this team might, at the beginning of the year, go to a 6-man rotation regardless. And then you hear the comments from Zach Wheeler and you go, okay, well, your ace, your best pitcher, maybe a top 2 or 3 pitcher in baseball, doesn't want to get out of his routine. And then you understand why why they're sticking with a 5-man rotation. But a 6-man rotation, it does make sense for this team when they're healthy. I don't think they're going to do it because you don't want to get Zach Wheeler.
So you think?
No, I don't believe that they do. I think it would have made sense had Wheeler been okay with it.
But isn't there a way to keep Wheeler on regular rest and go to a 6-man?
You would have to. It would be a modified 6-man.
Yeah.
It would be a 5-man rotation with 6 guys pitching.
Okay.
So you would probably go Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez, Turnbull. Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Sanchez, Walker. And I don't know if that works for the rest of for those 2 guys specifically, because then you've got 2 starting pitchers who are not pitching for 10 days at a time.
I was wondering with like off days and the way the schedule goes, because they were in the middle of 26 games in 27 days. We'll see what happens. But speaking of Taijuan Walker, he made his first rehab start tonight down in Clearwater. Went 4 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, 2 runs, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. His average 4-seam fastball was at 91 miles an hour, touched 91.9. Still a little down for him. He's in that 94, 95 range when he's at his peak. So, look, they have the luxury here of letting Taijuan Walker have that month-long rehab and maybe even longer if they want. To see if he can get that velocity back up. Because if Taijuan doesn't get his velocity back, and assuming Spencer Turnbull doesn't turn into a pumpkin here, I mean, I think the answer is clear. Then it becomes, do you want an $18 million long relief guy? Do you try and make the 6-man rotation work where the calendar allows for it? I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I mean,
it's a good problem to have.
If Spencer Turnbull continues to pitch well, and it's a small sample, we do need to continue to understand that it is a small sample size.
2 games.
He's pitched well through 2 games.
Utah, give me 2.
Right. And so I am going to take it with cautious optimism that he's pitched well in those 2 games. And the thing that gives me belief that he can continue it is the way that he has mixed his pitches. We talked about Ranger Suarez mixing pitches kind of amongst the same, along the same lines. I'm not going to go as far to say like there is a move that has to be made for Taijuan Walker because I don't know if the move exists.
You have the luxury of taking as much time as you want.
That's really the play.
And allow Spencer Turnbull to show you what he really is and give you a decent sample size of 6 to 8 games. Sure. And you can make the decision then. So it'll be interesting for sure. But Taijuan got his first rehab start tonight. But Ranger Suarez, I mean, nothing can go wrong with Ranger, Tyler.
Yeah, you know where else nothing goes wrong?
Oh,
it's at the Game Time app.
This kid's a pro.
How about that? Let's take just Wally Pippin this thing. See you, Lou Gehrig. No, I'm kidding. Renee will be back tomorrow. We'll have a full show again tomorrow. But you can use the Game Time app to get all of your ticket deals, last minute prices, lowest prices guaranteed. And one of the things about the Game Time app that I know all of us love is the seat locator because I was talking with a buddy. And he's from the New England area, moved down here for work, become very close friends with him. He, of course, is a Red Sox fan. And I said, hey, Mike, I've never been to Fenway. You interested in taking a trip this year? And this was, over a couple of beers and the ideas start to flow. And I said, you interested in taking a trip up to Fenway this year? He said, absolutely. He said, we just got to be careful with our tickets because sometimes you get obstructed view because it's a 100-year-old stadium.
Yeah, Wrigley and Fenway and those you got to make sure.
And so I said, well, Mike, I don't want to sell you on one of our great advertisers, but I will. And we could use the Game Time app. We'll see our seats before we buy them. We don't have to worry about obstructed views. We're able to buy those tickets in advance or up to the day of, and we know we're going to get the best price guaranteed. And it'll help us stop kind of stressing over those tickets. Because once we get up to Boston, we're going to want to go to tours and we're going to want to have a couple drinks. So I think that this is the best strategy for all of us. So I told him about that. And I was also sitting in my living room today and I'm like, I got to get to a show. I need a metal show. So I just started scrolling the Game Time app. I didn't buy anything, but I probably will shortly. I got a couple of shows planned for the next couple of months or so. Game Time is the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can buy your tickets in a matter of seconds, just 2 taps, and you are set. The tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you don't have to dig through your email or have to deal with paper tickets. I don't even know if anybody does paper tickets anymore. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account today, and use the promo code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code PHLY for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Yeah, you know what else should not be stressful? That's saving money, but somehow it's always stressful. But you got to get the right team on your side, and that's our friends based right here in Fort Washington. Literally, the Godfather. He lives 10 feet upstairs. They're right here in our backyard. They're 5 minutes down the road from me, their headquarters. And TrueMark Financial Credit Union is great because when you join them, you become a part owner, which means profits are going to get funneled back to you instead of going out to some faceless, nameless, rich guy shareholder on the other side of the country. You get better rates, lower fees, and a far better return on savings, and more flexible options with all the same digital tools and technology that you're accustomed to. TrueMark has local roots. They care about us here in the area, and they'll care about you. They're headquartered right in Fort Washington, and they have over 24 area locations across the Philadelphia area, and they serve our community and our people right here at home. Becoming a member of a credit union has so many amazing benefits over being a customer at a bank. It's a total no-brainer, people. So head over to TrueMark.com/PHLY to learn more or to find a branch near you. That's TrueMark.com/PHLY, federally insured by the NCUA. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Love you. Appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up button while you're in here. There was one question.
Our Diamondbacks friend is back.
Oh, yeah?
J-Flow's back.
All right. Welcome in, sir. We'll see you hopefully in the playoffs again. Somebody in the chat was asking how Turner did tonight. So while you were telling us about Game Time, Tyler, which my mother-in-law recently used for Raffy tickets.
How about that? You're gonna have some fun.
I'm not going.
Oh,
it was the best Mother's Day gift ever.
Good for you.
She's taking my wife and the girls to Raffy on Mother's Day.
I gotta be honest with you. I have no idea who that is.
You don't know who Raffy is?
No, couldn't tell you. That's the second time you've brought him up, and I have no clue who he is.
Bro, Baby Beluga in the deep blue sea.
So it's
Banana phone?
All right, so it's a kid's.
Shake your sillies out?
It's a kid's performer.
Oh, dude, Raffy's a legend.
Is he like the Wiggles?
No, he's the OG.
He's been around for the Wiggles?
He's been around for 40 years.
Really?
I grew up on Raffy.
Never heard of him before.
Oh.
You could have made him up for all I know.
Oh, Raffy's he's a legend.
So that would have been like me being like, oh, have you ever heard of the band, and just name some ridiculous metal band that you don't know about?
Oh, man. We listened to Banana Phone Slap. Should we pull it up? I don't want to get YouTube trouble in YouTube jail.
Yeah, I've never heard of it before, but I
maybe
guess
on your ride home, switch from the death metal over to Raffy.
Yeah,
it'll be a totally different drive for you.
You know, one day I'll be a dad, and I think it'll happen eventually.
Down by the bay. Adam knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, all right. I know that one, of course.
Raffy's the man.
I think Barney took that one over.
Ring, ring, ring. Garth Pooh knows. Banana Phones. That's his best one. Shake Your Sillies Out. It's pretty good, too. But somebody in the chat was asking about how Trey Turner did tonight. I think there's good and bad news with Trey. He went 1 for 4 in the evening, 2 ground outs, 1 strikeout, but he hit the ball hard. Again, like we talked about the Phillies offense, bad luck. Just looking at his exit velocities, even on the ground outs, it was 99 miles an hour. The strikeout, obviously, doesn't have an exit velocity on. 80 miles an hour on his single.
That's probably 0.
Yes, that's a 0 because he didn't make contact.
Venture guess.
80 miles an hour. This is where baseball is weird. His single, 80 miles an hour. His 2 ground outs, 99 and 97 miles an hour.
Baseball giveth and it taketh away sometimes. It's the dumbest great sport in the world.
Yeah. So Trey Turner, you know, he looks okay as my Miller Lite cap hits the floor. I think he's going to come around soon. I do. I'm not worried about him and Bryce. Nick Castellanos, I thought with OJ's death today, he was definitely going to go yard at plus 400. No. Well, he thrives in these situations.
Oh, no.
I have concerns about him. I don't have concerns about Bryce or Trey yet. I think Trey and Bryce are both hitting the ball hard. It's probably a timing issue or maybe weather issue. Phillies have played in a lot of shit weather.
It's been awful. I mean, this has been, and tonight I'm stunned that this held out as long as it did and for as long as it did, because we were all talking about contingency plans and how we were going to do a show at 2:00 in the morning if we had to. I'm kind of stunned, but the weather's been terrible. I mean, the downpour for the game yesterday in St. Louis was disgusting. The field was in awful conditions. Spencer Turnbull pitched in the rain. Who else pitched in the rain the night before?
No, before Turnbull.
Would have been Sanchez may have the night before. Either way, I mean, there's been 3 or 4 bad weather games already.
Yeah. And every post-game show we've done has pretty much been a weather game.
We're probably going to get one tomorrow.
Yes, it is supposed to downpour tomorrow. We will be back on at 11 a.m. tomorrow, not a post-game, so we don't have to revolve our lives around this terrible April weather. It gives you some great days, and then it gives you a lot of rain. But yeah, I'm not worried about, to answer the guy in the chat's question. I think Trey's going to come out of this pretty soon. Real quick, while we're talking about Bryce also, what a play down the first base line tonight.
Unbelievable.
O'Neal Cruz he was already starting to make his turn to second, and then you saw the wind go out of his sails.
Yep.
Because I didn't think Bryce had a shot at it. And he kind of like dove low at it and just kind of scooped it perfectly at first base. Do you think any of the Phillies, I don't want to say slowness, but it doesn't seem like they're turning a lot of double plays this year. Do you think any of that falls on, I don't think it does, but like positioning with Bryce, just getting to the bag and being unnatural with it?
I would have to go back and truly watch Bryce specifically on that. I mean, we've talked plenty of times about, it's the old Ron Washington scene in Moneyball. Tell him it's not that hard, Wash, and he goes, it's incredibly hard. It's not a physically demanding position. You're not,
it's mental.
You're not sprinting alleys. Well, and I think even more than mental, it's footwork.
Yeah,
it's positioning. It's where you're supposed to be at any given situation because you are in every play. You're thinking about back picks. You're thinking about trailing the runner if they hit the ball in the gap, trailing them up up the baseline between first and second. You're constantly watching. Like the one thing that I always tried my best to do is if I knew a ball was getting hit into the outfield or into the gap and the guy was going to think about turning and going to second, you're watching him hit the bag. You're making sure he hit the bag because you might steal an out that way. It's a lot of nuanced things that don't require physical attributes. They don't require skill sets, but it does require reps. Like playing first base is not something you just go do and do it well.
Yeah,
at least
memory.
From an aspect, like a mental aspect standpoint.
Absolutely. I think fielding it, he is looking great. I think occasionally position on the bag. Like he made that one play, was kind of obscure. He was like outside the base the other. It was a little bit of a low hopper from Turner, and he made the play, but his positioning just seemed off. I think he's still learning, and maybe by the All-Star break, it'll be a little more natural to him.
I think that it's just going to come with time there, and now that you know that he is your everyday first baseman, and the likelihood is the only other destination at this point for Bryce Harper over the course of his Major League career is probably everyday DH again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think there's ever a scenario where he goes back to the outfield at this point.
No.
So it's just going to come with footwork is going to come with time. The playmaking, the physical attributes, I think we all knew was going to be there, but it's there even more than what we thought.
Yeah.
Like I remember you saying months ago, this guy could be a Gold Glove candidate. And I go, all right, hold on.
But it's really only Goldschmidt and Walker that
they're the two.
And Goldschmidt, like Bryce's limited time last year, defensive metrics said he was right on Goldschmidt's heels.
Sure.
Christian Walker is leaps and bounds above everybody else.
Matt Olson is a better defender than what people give him credit for. But I think that, I think you're right. It's those two. And then you're probably talking about the next tier being
Bryce
Harper.
Yeah. Which is really impressive. I enjoy this. An old friend, Howard Eskin, getting trolled by Rob Thompson in the post-game press conference. So if you missed it before the game, Howard, what's up, genius? Gave Rob Thompson the old, is the offense going to come around? Because you guys aren't going to make the playoffs if you're hitting this way. So Rob Thompson kicks off his post-game press conference saying, where's Howard? Just kidding. Because obviously the offense came alive a little bit tonight. So enjoy a good troll session there from Rob Thompson after the game. I always respect Petty.
Yeah, so Rob Thompson's one of those guys where I think that in a professional setting, he doesn't say a ton. And then you get him at the bar, you hang out with him at a barbecue or something, and he's the funniest guy there.
Oh, yeah. I could see that. You know who was not like that, but secretly really funny was Andy Reid.
Really?
I got a couple times where I was back at an old job gathering audio with him. So I got in his office one-on-one like 2 or 3 different times. Funny dude.
I mean, he's
very charismatic, like surprising humor.
Yeah, he's kind of come out of his shell with even just like with the State Farm
those
commercials.
Are good commercials, yeah.
You know, and the one where he's drawing on Patrick Mahomes' face and he's laughing. Like you wouldn't have seen that 10 years. No. So I think there are some guys.
It's almost like winning a Super Bowl, lighten them up a little bit.
I guess. And then winning 3 now?
Yeah. Yeah, and probably a couple more on the horizon.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah. And you know what else can be on your horizon? That's our friends over at Bet Parks. I love this time of the year because the Masters are on, frankly. For one, I told my wife, don't expect a lot from me these next 4 days. I want to sit right here with my BetParks app in my hand. I want to bet live.
Husband of the year right there.
Yeah, I want to bet some futures. I want to bet some top 20s. Lay off me. I'm betting the Masters with BetParks. Of course, you got the Phillies. You got the NBA season winding down. The Flyers are in action. You can probably get a little third period action live right there with BetParks. They're the hometown sportsbook app and the one we all recommend here at PHLY. And you can get some action in the game with the BetParks sportsbook app. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet with BetParks. Win your first $10 bet, and you can earn $125 in sports bonus bets. So download the app and play along with us. Must be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, last tip on BetParks. I don't think the money's going to be great. And frankly, might even be minus money at this point. But Scotty Scheffler's going to win the Masters.
He's the talk of the Masters right now.
I just, like, Bryson DeChambeau's leading, but Scheffler got within one. Bryson's going to sweat. Scotty Scheffler is unfallible right now. He is in a freaking zone. It's not going to be a great payout, but a winning bet is a winning bet, and Scotty Scheffler looks like he's ready for some action.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was last year's Masters or if it was another tournament, but it was just a tournament that I went into, like, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, and I'm like, Jon Rahm's winning this tournament. It might have been last year's Masters. I don't remember if he did or not.
He did. He was last
okay.
year's,
It was last year's Masters. Yeah. I'm like, Jon Rahm's just been playing too well and kind of on the doorstep of it because I think he had finished like second, something like pretty decent over the last couple of starts. And sometimes you just have a feel for a play. And if you're feeling Scotty Scheffler, like even if it is minus money,
a winning bet's a winning bet.
Take the money.
Yeah.
Ipe wouldn't know anything about that.
So speaking of
$40 million,
the Shohei Ohtani story, if you missed that earlier today, our Discord has been so if you become a all PHLY diehard, which I recommend you do because you get discounts to future events, you get access here to our diehard channel. We do a lot of fun stuff. We do ticket giveaways. We're going to be doing a ton of events. You get discounts on merchandise, all that. The Diehard channel, the Discord Diehard channel earlier, there was a really good back and forth between us and a lot of the listeners about the Shohei Ohtani case and Ipe. And if you missed it, basically he had a $40.6 million debt rung up.
That's crazy.
With the bookie, the illegal bookie. And apparently one of the lower level bookie employees is going to dish to the government. So this story is kind of just starting. It does look optically as though Shohei's going to get off. And Ipe, whether you believe him or not, is going to be the fall guy or just somebody that stole $16.5 million from his best friend. Pretty crazy story, but it looks like it's going to be somewhat concluded here. And Shohei probably is going to get off scot-free. Who knows if he did it or not, but it's a big story. And it was a 3-year window of bets where he made, how many was it? 2,300 bets?
19,000 bets.
Wow.
19,000 bets. And if you take the number that he won or the number that he lost and subtract the number that he won.
180 lost, 142 million
he lost like $40 million. So I just went and did the quick math. On all of the bets, not just his losses, on all of the bets, he averaged $2.1 thousand lost.
Yeah. I saw a breakdown. His lowest bet was $10, which I would imagine is a parlay. And his biggest bet was
75 games.
Yeah, his biggest bet was 160,000.
That's unbelievable. Now
I'm in the camp of still not believing a second of this, but I don't want to get on my tinfoil hat or anything. I just don't think. I don't think most illegal bookmakers are going to extend a line of credit of, say, $40 million to somebody because their friend is rich.
Yeah,
Now, the story is he defrauded the banks, had Shohei's Angels payroll money sent to this bank, which was separate from his endorsement and millions and upon millions that he had already made before he got here. And Ipe was defrauding that. And it's a wild story, and I look forward to very much reading about it and seeing the documentary on it one day.
Yeah, it's I don't think just because we have like answers, do like air quote answers, I don't think we have answers.
No, I don't think we're ever going to get
and
answers.
we may not. You're right. This may end up being one of those documentaries where Unsolved Mysteries, is that what the show was?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to come out to be one of those things because there's way too many levels for this to them just go, okay, here's what happened. This is it. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Push it all under the rug.
Yeah. So
there's no way.
If you were living under a rock today, that's what happened in Ohtani land. So a couple other notes I had from the game, and then we'll wrap it up and get out of here. Brandon Marsh.
He's been great.
He has been absolutely phenomenal. I saw one of his MLB Savant charts yesterday before the game, and it was elite. I mean,
yeah.
This guy.
I mean, I know you guys made the joke about like 1/3 Soto and blah, blah, blah. But he's been really freaking good.
Really, really good. He's an everyday player. He should have the opportunity now to bat versus every lefty they encounter. Brandon Marsh gets one right over the Asplund orange marker at the top of the wall in center field and gets another home run. He has 4 home runs now on the year. He's playing really good baseball, and his home run went 392 feet. Brandon Marsh is awesome, and at this pace, if he stays at this pace, you're talking like possible all-star level play.
Well, and that was my one bold prediction for the year, was that he makes the all-star game, and it was predicated on him playing every day. And so far, I don't think he's giving you any reason not for him to play every day. The only piece of concern, and maybe this is unfair because I don't care when Schwarber does it, but I'm caring when Brandon Marsh does it. The strikeout rate's a little bit high. 14 strikeouts in 11 games played this year. He, I believe, is in like the 6th percentile in strikeout percentages. He's striking out about 36% of his at-bats. That's the only knock I have on him right now. And if you go back throughout the course of his career so far, he's played 348 games. He struck out 407 times. Every single year, with the exception of his rookie season where he played 70 games and struck out 91 times, he has struck out about 1 time every game. This is kind of the player that Brandon Marsh has become. And if he's going to hit at a pace that he's hitting at, even if he, I don't think he hits 333 throughout the course of his season, but if he hits 280, 285, 290 over the course of the year, and he's driving the ball and he's hitting the ball, with some serious exit velocity like we've seen, then you're going to take the strikeouts and you're going to live with it. He's been awesome.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his MLB chart here, and his hard hit percentage right now is in the 98th percentile in Major League Baseball.
And that's what I mean.
That's crazy.
Like, you can balance bad strikeout rates if you're putting the ball in play at this kind of velocity.
Average exit velocity, 91st percentile.
Sounds about right.
Brandon Marsh has been absolutely spectacular. His K percentage, 35.9. As you said, his walk percentage, only 5.1. His whiff is at 25.7. Again, like his chase is at 24/7. That chase is fine. Whiff, you'd like to see cut down a little bit, but if you're putting the ball in play hard, who cares? His do you know what his XWO bacon stat is?
Yeah, what an X-Wabacon?
Yeah,
I don't know what that means. I refuse to believe that's a real stat. Here you go. Here's his numbers, by the way, for everybody to see.
If you're unfamiliar with MLB Savant, to the very far right and red is very, very good.
Yeah, this has become quickly, like you always joke about Baseball Reference being like
our old buddies Pornhub.
Yeah, I love this. I've been on this website probably every day for 3 months now. I love Baseball Savant. I think it's incredible. It is very cool. It's laid out easy. It's easy to utilize, and this kind of gives you a snapshot of what the player is. And again, listen, it's 11 games. He's played 11 games.
Sure.
This is a really good start to the year, and if he continues to play at a level that we can hope for him to continue to play at, the conversation about everyday player versus platoon player should be over forever.
It's over.
It should never exist again.
Yeah, and this is one of those rare situations. We talked about it with the Marlins and Twins trade and Pablo Lopez, where both teams apparently might have won this trade.
Sure.
Logan O'Hoppe also off to a really strong start. He had a strong start last year. Before he hurt his shoulder. Now he is hitting pretty well out in Anaheim. He's hitting .353. He's got 6 RBIs, 12 hits on the year in just 34 plate appearances, but his OPS is .965. Look, here's the thing. He wasn't going to play here.
No.
So you can't even look at that trade and go, oh, man, if we only had Logan O'Hoppe. It's like, you got a starting left fielder or center fielder, whatever he ends up playing, for a guy that was going to be at best a backup catcher here because he was roadblocked by JT. So it's a great deal.
To play on the Brandon Marsh point, I think Chris Lemmer asked the question in the chat. Brandon Marsh is still in pre-arb. He still has, this is his pre-arb season.
Wow.
He still has 3 more years of arbitration eligibility. Now, if he continues to hit the ball well,
you're going to want to lock him up.
I would expect you probably lock him in. He's at a base salary of $766,000 this year. I would imagine through an arbiter, because I don't think they go make the deal this year, this offseason. No. It would probably be either between 25 and 26 or 26 and 27 and avoid the last year of arbitration. If he gets in front of an arbiter now we're way talking ahead of ourselves, but if he gets in front of an arbiter in 2024, 2025 offseason, that 760 probably gets up to about 3 to 4 million next year, I would think.
Yeah, and it's still a bargain.
I would I would probably tend to agree.
Yeah. A couple other notes from the game here. I saw somebody tweet about this. When Bryson Stott hits a home run, he hits a home run. Like,
it was a moonshot today.
That was belt high, and he buggy whipped that one. To steal an old line from your pal Chris Wheeler there. He buggy whipped that one into right center field. No doubt about it. Kind of just missed the upper deck, fell in right below it. But Bryson Stott, hopefully that's a sign of good things to come because he got all of that one.
Yeah, and that's one of those balls that's a no-doubter in just about every ballpark. And I think Baseball Savant has it as a home run in 29 of the 30 ballparks.
Okay. What's the one ballpark?
Take a guess.
Great American Ballpark.
Based on, no, God, no. Probably would have gone into the river in Great American Ballpark. Based on the trajectory, like kind of how fields are set up, take a guess as to what ballpark it might be.
It's not San Fran, is it?
It is San Fran.
It is.
Oracle Park. Yeah, think about it. I mean, it's a deep, cavernous.
It's tall wall, but isn't it it's not like the deepest wall, right?
It's thin. It's shallow in right field, but it juts out very, very quickly. Right. And right center and center are very deep.
Yeah, so Bryson Stott, hopefully.
But yeah, I mean, he hit that at 102.3. 400. Yeah, I mean, 402 feet's basically a no-doubt home run.
Yeah, no doubt about that one. The other notes I have, Nick Nelson versus Dickie Beans. Now, Orion Kerkerine should be joining the club on Saturday. Who, by
the way, just struck out the side in Clearwater.
Pew! All right. So he's going to be joining the club most likely on Saturday. Now, I think it was, at first, everybody thought Dickie Beans was the obvious guy to go down. Nick Nelson is the stretch bullpen, long innings eater type of guy that you want on a club. But Ricardo Pinto, a.k.a. our friend Dickie Beans, gave you 73 pitches his first game here right out of a car. He might be able to give you something similar to what Nick Nelson does. Any debate there for you? Because I'm a known Nick Nelson hater. And while Dickie Beans might turn into a pumpkin in the very near future, I don't know. I'm tempted about seeing our old friend Dickie for a couple more games.
I actually don't know the answer to how many options Ricardo Pinto has, because I don't know, like, do options revert back to, like, because of the gap, right?
Yeah.
The gap years between being major leaguers
or something.
I don't know if they revert or not. Nick Nelson, I believe, has one option remaining.
Okay.
So
I would imagine Dickie Beans gets sent down.
I would think it's probably going to be Ricardo Pinto. But if they don't feel like I would have to look into his option situation. If he has no options.
Yeah, I have no idea with a guy like him.
If he has no options, then you send Nelson down because of the fact that, I don't want to say you don't want to lose Pinto. He's only made 2 appearances, but
he's looked good in
He's
both.
Looked okay.
He's got a strong jawline.
And
if you feel confident with a good jawline.
And if you can stretch a guy out like that, like if he's able to continually throw, like I thought he was going to be a 1 or 2 inning guy.
Yeah.
If he feels comfortable throwing 40, 50 pitches, I'm not going to ask him to throw.
He stepped out of a limo and threw 73 pitches.
I'm not going to ask him to throw 73, but if he can get to 40, 50 consistently, then maybe you have a conversation. I would venture a guess that it's probably going to be Pinto.
Yeah, I would think so too.
But
I think Nick Nelson,
maybe he's made you think about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think he has made you think a little bit about it. Hey, shout out to our friend Josh Tolentino from the Inquirer.
What's up, Josh?
Here. Yes. Thanks for joining the show, Josh. Appreciate that. He says big Marsh guy.
I think we all are becoming big Marsh fans at this point.
My near 5-year-old daughter calls him Brandon Martian. He's near and dear in our house. We love him. I tweet out the Swamp Monster every time he does something well from the show account. Make sure you're following us at PHLY Phillies on Twitter. And then the last note I have is just that I think Rob Thompson deserves some bouquets for the lineup shift. Clearly tonight it worked in spades. Brandon Marsh has thrived in the 6-hole the last 2 games. Bryson Stott gets sent down to the 8-hole. Worked for him tonight too, getting a home run. Rob Thompson, we'll see. I set the line yesterday at 4 games, how long he does this. He's going to keep doing it until Brandon Marsh tells him not to.
Well, I think he's going to keep doing it at least until they, as long as they continue to show out.
Yeah.
So I would say that maybe your over is looking better after just an extra game.
Yeah. Because it worked for Stott, too. Maybe it's just some pressure off of him down in the 8-hole can get him going.
I think when you get bumped down in the lineup a little bit, you are expecting to see. Now, granted, these are major leaguers. It's not like you're playing high school ball and the 8 and 9 hitters are they're bums.
Yeah.
These are major league players. But when you do get bumped down in the lineup a little bit, you do kind of expect to see a rash of fastballs that maybe you wouldn't see in counts, especially specific counts when you're hitting 2 or you're hitting 5, which is kind of 2 of the places we expect Bryson Stott to be in over the course of his career, maybe even a leadoff hitter one day.
Sure.
I think when you're hitting 8, it kind of allows you to get your mind right. There's not a sense of pressure on you to deliver in key spots.
Sure.
There is a little bit of a like deep breath, a sigh of relief to be able to be down in the lineup. Nobody wants to hit 8th or 9th.
No.
Even at the major league level, nobody wants to hit 8th or 9th because the likelihood is you're probably getting one less at bat than hitting 2nd or hitting 5th. But I think sometimes it's valid. It allows you to just see ball, hit ball. And sometimes it does become as simple as see ball, hit ball.
Yeah, it does. So this is the rare 4-game series here with the Pirates. They have projected starters. Tomorrow we get to see our old friend, Bailey Falter.
Better crush this guy.
Bailey Falter so far this year, 5.4 ERA with only 3 strikeouts. He's going. It's a lefty-lefty game versus Christopher Sanchez. Do not sit Brandon Marsh tomorrow.
No, he's got to play.
Yeah, Bailey Falter is a lefty that he can kill. So you got to like Christopher Sanchez's odds there a little bit. It's supposed to pour tomorrow night, and I think a lot of the day. We'll see if we get that one in. Fucking April baseball.
You know what's funny too with Falter is you go to look at his numbers and we know he's not a strikeout guy, right?
No.
He's not gonna he's not throwing 97. He's a junk balling lefty. He's gonna use craftiness if he can to kind of get you out. He's pitched 10 innings this year. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. He has 4 walks. He's given up 6 hits. He's got a 1 whip over the course of 10 innings. Again,
solid.
Small sample size. It's funny to see a 5 ERA with a 1 whip.
Yeah.
A flat 1 whip is if you can get anybody to be a flat 1 whip as a starter, that's significant. He's only given up 5 hits per 9. He's given up, the home run, the long ball has kind of plagued him a little bit. He's given up 2 and 10. Obviously small sample size, but somewhere the numbers don't match. Either he's about to go get really, really hit around, or he's due for a good start. Make sure it's the former.
It feels like with the way the Phillies are having bad luck and barreling up some balls and, 6 hits tonight over 100 miles an hour off the bat, feels like this is a good opportunity if they do get the game in. Yeah, to jump his ass. And then Saturday's game.
I think Marco Gonzalez, right?
Yeah, Marco Gonzalez versus Spencer Turnbull. That one is a 4:05 start. And then Sunday, another nice piece that the Pirates have in Mitch Keller. Unfortunately for him, he has to go up against Zach Wheeler. And please, Phillies, don't waste another Zach Wheeler start. You've wasted 2 in a row. The guy's been great. He's got a 1.89 ERA with 20 strikeouts so far. Mitch Keller is a really good player, but he with a 5.29 ERA, 17 strikeouts to start the year. The Pirates have been hot, but if you can take, at worst, you have to split. If you can take 3 or 4 from this Pirates team and stack together 3 series wins in a row, 2 of those on the road, and then you got the Colorado Rockies coming in.
And then you got the Chicago White Sox.
And the White Sox, they just sent down another one of their top prospects that they called up. They made him a pinch runner and then sent him back down again. The White Sox are a mess.
They just used an option for a pinch runner.
Yeah.
It's kind of
pretty
gross.
dumb. So the White Sox are a mess. The Rockies and Jake Cave coming back to town. You have a real chance to stack some series in a row here. And, look, the Braves are still the Braves, but they're the Braves without Spencer Strider now. So, you have an opportunity. I still think the division, as good as they are, the division's still up for grabs. So if you can get off to a hot April here and stack these series wins in a row, the Phillies will have a really nice start to the year. And as much as we've bitched and moaned about the offense, they're not even there yet. Like the Phillies team ERA, if you missed it earlier, their team staff ERA for the rotation is 2.73. The recipe is there for success.
Yeah, I mean, my goal over the course of these 3 series at home was a 6-4 homestand. You're off to 1, so now you got to go 5-4. If you can get to 7-3, then all of a sudden you're looking at a 13-9 start to the year. You play off of that.
Yeah,
that's where you start to build momentum because now you're not buried. You're not 20-30 like you've been in each of. I guess theoretically you could still go 7-21,
sure,
but I don't think that you will. You build off of 13-9 and you continue to stack, like you said, you use that phrase, stack these series wins against the teams that you should beat. And so if you're able to do that and come away with a series win in St. Louis, let's say you split with Pittsburgh, that would be, would be fine. A 3-1 series win would be fantastic. Then if you take 2,
isn't that funny how 2-2 is like, okay, 3-1, you're like, World Series.
4-game series are hard to win.
They are.
So if you win a 4-game series and then you go and stack up 2-1, and even if you take 2 of 3 from
stink and the White Sox stink.
So if you take 2 of 3 from each of them, that's 7
and 5 series in a row.
Right, and then you're looking at a 13-9, 12-10, 13-9, 14-8 potential record if you really get greedy, and that's where you start to kind of thrive from there.
Yeah, you win tomorrow. That's 2 in a row. You win the next day.
It's called a winning streak.
It's called a winning streak, and it has happened before, Tyler. So thank you so much to everybody for joining us here on the postgame show. Don't forget the Flyers postgame show right down the hall coming up right after their win versus the Rangers. Well, I haven't checked.
They're live now. They did win.
They did win.
They did in fact win.
So the Flyers still have a puncher's chance at like 3% to make the playoffs. So go check out the Flyers, guys. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. Look, things are good in Phillies land. The bats are going to come alive. The pitching is there. Things are going well. We're happy. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. For Tyler Zulli, I'm Jamie Lynch. We'll be back at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning with Renee, and we'll see y'all then.
We all city like the mayor.